Hi everyone, today's topic is about saving face, the clear message format, and will be presented to you by Arjay and Ghanshyam Patel. As it is imperative, a fundamental component in building a supportive climate is to avoid attacking others so to preserve their face. With that said, we need to share our legitimate concern when problems arise in a relationship. The goal of our video presentation is to educate you on varying methods for speaking your mind in clear, direct, yet non-threatening way. A behavioral description describes the raw material to which you react. It should be objective, describing an event without interpreting it. Consider this example.
A week ago, John promised me that he would ask my permission before smoking in the same room with me. Just a moment ago, he lit up a cigarette without asking if it's okay.
Notice that in this example, the descriptive statement records only data that are available through the senses, and that the observer has not attached any meaning to it. On the other hand, the observer may react in a totally different way.
You promised me that you'd ask me before smoking in the same room with me. You're the biggest addict I've ever known in my whole life.
This is to say that if the receiver attaches meaning, like complain, that is hurtful or to some extent degrading on an issue that can be changed, would it then escalate the conflict episode? Like saying that John is drug addict, which is a character assault that is unlikely to be forgotten when conflict is over. Another method of speaking your mind clear is called interpretation statement. You may describe the meaning you attach to the other person's behavior. However, the important thing to realize about interpretation is that they are subjective. Let's examine these two examples.
John just had forgotten about our agreement that he wouldn't smoke without asking me first. I'm sure he's still considering to go back on his own words, something he knows I feel strongly about. John is rude and considerate person after promising me not to smoke around me without asking. He's just deliberately done so.
These examples show that interpretations are based on more than simple sense data. They grow out of many factors such as past experience, like John has always never kept his promise in the past. Your assumption, forgotten promises is sign of self-centered personality. Your expectations that John would be forgetful and that he might have forgotten our agreement. Rather, your knowledge. Smoking is like a habit that can be performed subconsciously.
Feeling statement is an expression of a sender's emotion that results from an interpretation of a sense data. For example, when you laugh at me, I think you find my comments foolish and I feel embarrassed. When you laugh at me is the behavior of the receiver. I think you find my comments foolish is the interpretation of the speaker, and I feel embarrassed is the feeling statement of the speaker. Some statements seem to be expressing feelings, but are actually interpretations or statements of intention. For example, I feel like leaving is more of an intention, or I feel like you're wrong is more of an interpretation. There are two reasons for not expressing your feelings. First one is such statements can bring on a great deal of nervousness, and second, people don't recognize them, and that is why we often ask ourselves, how do we feel? Consequent statement is an explanation of the results that follow from either the behavior of the person to whom the message is addressed, or from the speaker's interpretation of the addressee's behavior. Such statements are useful to understand more clearly why you are bothered or pleased by another person's behavior. Feeling statements are extremely important because they aid in expression of feelings and emotion to another individual. Consequent statements are equally important because they aid in understanding our own emotion due to other person's behavior. Both statements add a new dimension to a method.
In conclusion, to save face in behavioral description perspective would mean that reaction you may have on person should not include interpretation, but rather objective, describing an event which could be done through senses. Interpretation statements. The first speaker's failure to specify behavior would probably confuse the receiver, who has no way of knowing what prompted the speaker's remark. The failure to describe behavior also reduces any chance that the receiver will change the offensive behavior, which after all is unknown to that person. Many problems occur when the sender fails to describe the behavior on which an interpretation is based.